Cathedrals are not only some of the most striking architectural wonders of religious history, but also of global history. One doesn't need to consider themselves a spiritual individual to see the value in visiting these historic sites. Their carefully painted frescoes and carved steeples retell the records of the place and give insight into its community. We've scoured the globe for the world's most beautiful cathedrals. From Spain to Moscow and to the United States, we come across both famous and lesser-known architectural masterpieces. Welcome back to Re-Inspired Adventures. I'm Anthony, and let's get started. First up is Chartres Cathedral in France. Chartres Cathedral is the pinnacle of French Gothic design. It was first built in 1145 and then underwent a long reconstruction following the fire of 1194. It has retained its 13th century stained glass windows, has a vast nave, and features stunning 12th century sculptures, all of which have remained in remarkably good condition over the years. Every 2 years, the cathedral hosts the world-famous international organ competition, the Grand Prix de Chartres. Next is Seville Cathedral in Spain. Seville Cathedral is the world's largest Gothic cathedral and is a real showpiece for this beautiful Andalusian city. Built between 1434 and 1517 on the remains of what is believed to have previously been the city's main mosque, this cathedral is worth a visit for its majestic bell tower alone. Its strong ties to New World discovery makes it a natural home for many of the early explorers' precious documents, and it's even the site of Christopher Columbus's tomb. Next up is Toledo Cathedral, which is also in Spain. The medieval Gothic architecture of Toledo Cathedral makes it one of the most impressive in Spain. In its sacristy, the area in which the priest prepares for services, there are artworks by the great masters, Velázquez, Goya, and El Greco. During the area's Muslim rule, the area contained the city's central mosque, which was then converted into a church in 1085. This was destroyed 140 years later, and the cathedral was then built on these foundations in a melting pot of architectural styles. Next, we have Cologne Cathedral in Germany. The construction of Cologne Cathedral began in 1248, but wasn't completed until 1880. Despite its slow start, this is one of Europe's most impressive high Gothic masterpieces. Its immense twin towers loom over the city, which made it the tallest structure in the world when it was first completed. Washington Monument then clinched this title in 1884. The windows are a mix of 13th century stained glass and more modern-style offerings by Cologne-based artist Gerhard Richter, who replaced the 19th century glass that had been destroyed in World War II. Next is the St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna, Austria. St. Stephen's Cathedral has become an icon of Vienna, positioned at the very center of this artistic city. It remains the tallest church in Austria, the tallest of its 4 towers sitting at 136 meters. St. Stephen's Cathedral is most easily recognized thanks to its colorful roof tiles that were laid to create the royal and imperial double-headed eagle and the coat of arms of the city of Vienna. This image has also been used on one of Vienna's most famous sweet snackers, the Manor Schnitted wafers. Next up on our list is St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow, the Cathedral of Vasily. The Blessed is commonly known as St. Basil's Cathedral and is an Orthodox church in Moscow's Red Square and one of the most familiar cultural symbols of Russia. It was built in the mid-1500s under the instruction of Ivan the Terrible and commemorates the capture of Kazan and Astrakhan. It was the city's tallest building when it was completed in 1683 until the completion of the Ivan the Great Bell Tower in 1600. The cathedral has 9 domes, each one corresponding to a different church inside it, and is shaped like a bonfire rising into the sky. Next is Milan Cathedral in Italy. Milan's Duomo is one of the most impressive structures in the city, if not the entirety of Europe. While it might not be the largest in scale, it has the most statues than any other building in the world. 3,400 statues, 135 gargoyles, and 700 figurines decorate its facade and interior. Its construction officially started in 1386 and was supported by Milan's ruler at the time, who had grand visions for the cathedral. It's made from Condoglian marble from nearby Lake Maggiore and has undergone construction for many centuries. Napoleon was responsible for instigating the completion of the facade in the early 19th century, but construction still continues on this majestic building. Next is the Durham Cathedral in England. Durham Cathedral was built in the late 11th century to house the relics of St. Cuthbert and the Venerable Bede. It is one of the largest and finest examples of Norman architecture in England, sitting next to Durham Castle on the River Wear. It has been referred to by many as one of the best cathedrals in the UK. The Durham Cathedral organ was built by Father Willis in 1876 to 77, with 4 manuals and pedals, 98 speaking stops, and 5,746 pipes. Many scenes from the first 2 Harry Potter films, The Philosopher's Stone and The Chamber of Secrets, were filmed at Durham Cathedral in Durham, England. It's also home to one of the best cathedral choirs in the UK. Next up is the Salisbury Cathedral and is also in England. In the 1300s, Salisbury Cathedral decided to build something new. Between about 1300 and 1329, they made the tower higher and added a spire. At 404 feet, or 123 meters, it is now the tallest spire in England. Salisbury also became known as a place of pilgrimage. After 1457, when one of the earliest bishops, Bishop Osmond, was made a saint by the Pope, sick people visited St. Osmond's tomb and highly decorated shrine in the cathedral hoping to be cured. In 1445, a library and lecture room on top of the eastern side of the cloisters was built. In the library, the books were chained to the shelves to stop them being borrowed. Next, we have the Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris. Notre-Dame is not only one of the most famous cathedrals in Europe, but in all the world. Situated in the heart of Paris, right off the Seine, construction of Notre-Dame began in 1163, and it was consecrated 26 years later. While it's an impressive feat that the cathedral is still standing nearly 1,000 years after its construction, it has seen much damage and deterioration over the years. Its restoration can be attributed to Emperor Napoleon for making Notre-Dame his passion project after the French Revolution, as well as Victor Hugo's eponymous book. A fire broke out in 2019 during another restoration, destroying most of the roof and Viollet-le-Duc's 19th century spire. Last up, we have the Washington National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. George Washington commissioned Pierre Charles L'Enfant to design the National Cathedral along with the rest of the nation's capital, with plans beginning as early as 1791. L'Enfant imagined this cathedral would be a great church for national purposes, and it has certainly been so, serving as a site for national prayer services, presidential funerals, and a remembrance ceremony after the 9/11 attacks in 2001. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. even preached his final Sunday sermon at its Canterbury pulpit in 1968. It also boasts some spectacular gardens you must visit if ever in Washington, D.C. Well, there you have it. If you enjoyed this journey through the top cathedrals in the world and want more of these adventures, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy adventures.